Welcome into another episode of the Hog Roundup. Today it is all about SEC win totals. We are fast approaching the season, about 5 weeks away. Arkansas opening with Alabama A&M, and we'll talk about the Hogs here. We're going alphabetical order, the first 8 of the SEC. Tye Richardson, you know him well. He joins the show to talk all things SEC win totals. It's a whole lot of fun coming up on the Hog Roundup. Enjoy. All right, back here on the Hog Roundup, Tye Richardson, you know him well, joining the show. And Tye, before we get into SEC win totals, which I am just personally amped about, ready to disagree with you on a whole bunch of things, let's talk about DMAC first. Finally getting some recognition there. Arkansas announcing the patch for the A&M game coming up. We were talking about it a little bit before hopping on here, just impressions of some much-needed recognition for number 5 for the Razorbacks.
Well, it's a marquee game on the schedule.
Yeah.
I know Darren didn't play A&M to my knowledge when he was in school, but this is long overdue. This is the not just the best running back in Razorback history. It can be debated if he's the best player. They do something similar with the number 7 at LSU, and this was always something you don't necessarily have to retire number 5, but put his name up in Razorback Stadium, do something like this. So I know he's really excited about it. Fans are really excited about it. These are one of the things that fans were imploring Hunter Yurachek and his staff to do. And again, long overdue. I'm just happy it's finally coming to fruition. So this is like, I had 2 childhood heroes growing up. And I guess if you want to put Ryan in the latter years, the late Ryan Mallett, but it's Matt Jones, who I get to work with every day, and Darren McFadden. Darren's at the top of the list. Because Darren, as an Arkansan, you felt like he's so prideful to this day. You felt like as a Razorback fan growing up that you could be the best in whatever you chose to do, because that's what Darren was. Yeah. And Darren had so many memories, so many things that he was able to accomplish here in Fayetteville. So I'm so grateful that they're finally doing this for one of the all-time, if not the all-time greatest Razorback.
Yeah, long overdue, man. But that might be the understatement of the century. It's surprising it took this long, but it's a fantastic recognition. It's just going to add more juice to that game where you haven't had A&M here in Fayetteville because of the Arlington series, all the above, and so that place is going to be nuts already. And you add that on top, it's going to be pretty special. Fun recognition, long overdue. Glad it's finally happening. We are going to talk a little bit about Texas A&M next week in terms of win totals. Let's just hop right into it. Tye, I am ready. I'm amped for this. You and I are going to disagree. We are going to agree, all the above. We are going in alphabetical order. We're going to do 8 this week, 8 next week as well, mixing some fall camp stuff as well next week, obviously, too. But let's just get it started, and let's begin with Alabama. Year 2 of Kalen DeBoer. Year 1 snapped you ready for this? This would be nice. 16 straight 10-win seasons was snapped last year for Alabama. Where you got? Win total is at over under 9.5. Where are you going with the Tye? Bring a lot back, but at the same time, it's a new quarterback. Ty Simpson likely with a 5-star Keelan Russell waiting.
Yeah, Tough games, being that they have to go to Athens, Georgia this year. LSU, I know they've had success in Baton Rouge before. You're gonna have to remind me, is that game in Baton Rouge or is that game in Tuscaloosa this year? You might have to.
Is in. Let me check for you.
Well, so Alabama's an interesting thing. Kalen DeBoer gets asked at SEC Media Day. It's about the standard of Alabama football. They go 9-4, as you alluded to, didn't get to 10 wins. I think they get it this year. I think they ended up the season 10-2. I would be shocked if they win that game in Athens, Georgia. I know that Nick Saban's Crimson Tide owned Georgia, and I know DeBoer got them last year, but that is the game that Georgia has circled on the schedule. So I got them slightly above at 10 wins, Jacob.
Yeah, Georgia at home's a different animal. The senior class that just graduated went 25-0 in between the hedges. It's tough to go in there and win. I'm with you. I got them at 11-1. I think bringing Ryan Grubbs in, that was Kalen DeBoer's OC at Washington, and that's massive just in terms of bringing back continuity to that staff. And also you get Ryan Williams back, who in a lot of ways somehow was overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith in terms of freshman receivers, but you add him. You bring in Isaiah Horton from Miami as well to bolster that receiving core. What it comes down to me, what it comes down to for me is those road games, like you said, Florida State, Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, and Auburn. For me, you go 3-2 in there, and I think you're good. I think that they take care of business at home. I think they hit the 10 over the 9.5 mark, and I think they go 11-1 as well. I think this team's going to bounce back well. I think it is a clear, and this is going to be a theme for me, it is a clear top-tier at the top of the SEC. There are 4 teams that I have my eye on. They're the 4 favorites. I think they're separated, and I think that it doesn't start with Alabama, but Alabama's up there. Let's move to the Hawks. Let's get this one out of the way. Win total 5.5. Ty, I'm not going to preface anything. Give me what you got. Over under 5.5.
6-6. I've said it all off season. I'm not changing now. I'm hoping they win more games than that. But I look at the composition of this roster. I know Sam Pittman has talked about, well, just because you don't know the guys doesn't mean they can't play. And listen, that's fair. He knows his football team more than we do. But when you lose your top 8 pass catchers, and I know they've got a retooled offensive line, you think about the tight end wide receiver room. No one has any idea what that's going to look like in a few weeks. You may look at a depth chart, but we don't know if these guys can play SEC ball. We have no clue. And then on the defensive side, outside of Cam Ball, there's no surefire guy. You like your linebackers, probably the best of the defense, maybe the best of all of the football team. Back end is concerning, just question marks. So I think they win a game or two they're not supposed to, leads them to 6-6 in the regular season, Jacob. And again, I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope they win more games than that. That's where I got Arkansas this fall.
Shockingly similar to me there. I got 6-6, so I got an over, but narrowly, and that is not one I'm confident in. And it comes down to multiple things. It comes down to what we've talked about, which is you hit it with the receiver group. It is a concern for me. You could see a better Taylon Green, a Taylon Green that makes a jump, but without a consistent threat outside, you worry that it may not matter. I think some of those guys will step up. I think it'll be a better looking Taylon Green as well there. But I know people are tired of talking about the schedule. Oh, it doesn't matter. It does. When you're forecasting a record and you're forecasting where this team is going to be at, I think they're going to shock people. This is a team that players shock a couple teams, right? It's a team that's played well on the road in the past. But when you break down all of the teams on that schedule, it's going to be difficult. I mean, I ran through a tie over and over and over again. I love playoff predictors. You can go through and pick every single SEC game, right? So I'm sitting there for Arkansas, and you try to find the wins. And right now, with as many question marks as there are heading into fall camp, it was really hard for me to find more than 6. And that was I gave them Missouri at the end of the season. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult, and we'll see ultimately how it pans out there.
You mentioned an important aspect. They have played well on the road. I think about the games this upcoming season. They've lost by combined 8 points the last 2 years in Oxford. Last time they went to Baton Rouge, they lost by 3 points on a last-second field goal to the eventual Heisman Trophy winner. You think about Knoxville. They won 4 straight against Tennessee in the series, 2006, 2015, 2020, and then this past season. So maybe you get some luck there. And then the last one being Texas. Listen, that's going to be the toughest game. I still have that. I'm liking, just because of what I've heard from the players in that Ole Miss game, I think I'm leaning more towards of that being the upset.
Okay.
Not that they still can't beat Texas, because I love where that falls in the schedule late in the year, Georgia, Texas A&M. But that, to me, that's in terms of talent, that's probably the toughest team you'll face all year. But these road games, as you alluded to, don't just there's no chance they win any of those 4 because of the prowess of those teams. Because I just laid out reasons of why they'll at least compete. Like, I don't think they're going to go in Austin, Knoxville, Oxford, or Baton Rouge and get their butts beat in. Yeah. I'll at least expect the football team to cover. Maybe bet on them to cover, like we're betting on them to bust the win totals this fall.
Something to watch there moving forward. Again, I hope we're both wrong. I hope it goes above that, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm not confident there, but that's what I'm going to put it at right now. 6-6 for both of us. Let's go to Auburn. This one is, I don't know where you're going to fall in this. I have no idea where you are going to go. This is another narrow, very not confident answer for me. I'm going to go over 7.5 at 8-4. This is a program, 4 straight losing seasons, the first time since the 1950s. But at the same time, it is a team that one of the games that they lost versus Arkansas was where they turned the ball over 5 times, right? And they had every opportunity to win. And they did that 3 times. They blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma. They did the same thing against Missouri, all the above. They bring Jackson Arnold in now, trying to cut down on the turnovers. They have one of the best wide receiver groups in the entire country. If it's not now, it's going to start getting really uncomfortable for Hugh Freeze at Auburn. You're going to know in the first 7 games. They've got at Baylor, at Oklahoma, at A&M, Georgia, and Missouri just in the first 7 games alone. It cools off a little bit in the backstretch there, and you obviously finish with Alabama I'm going narrow over, but this is going to be a fascinating Auburn team and one that Arkansas is going to see in Fayetteville.
Well, they're going under. Hogs are
Okay,
going to beat them at home.
there you go.
You had Noah Brown, I think 5 interceptions last year.
Peyton Thorne.
Peyton Thorne came in, didn't do much better. Did a little bit better and maybe you make the case if he starts, Auburn somehow, some way wins that game. But Hugh Freeze, whether it's the 9 out of 10 times comment or his system comment, that is a situation in Auburn that's very volatile. He's the hottest seat in the SEC. You could point out Stoops, Venables, Napier, Pittman. He has the hottest seat in the SEC. And I don't think he makes it through this season. I think Auburn is below that 7.5 total. And I think Hugh Freeze is out of a job come this winter. And I think Auburn's looking for their next football coach, which I'll say this. I thought that was a surefire hire. I thought it was perfect. And now I could be proven wrong, but I don't think it's going to go well for them this fall. You're putting your chips, if you're Hugh Freeze, on a quarterback that, albeit lost all his pass catchers, loves to turn the ball over. So regardless of that wide receiver room or not, I'm going to bet on Auburn to go under that 7.5, Jacob.
Yeah, Jackson. I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines there with Auburn in terms of Jackson Arnold, 5-star kid, Dylan Gabriel, not pushed, but encouraged to walk out the door so Jackson Arnold could get an opportunity last year in Norman, and it just doesn't come through. And you saw what Dylan did up in Eugene. And it's one of the more interesting games flying under the radar is Friday, week 1, is Auburn and Baylor, but it is not on the Plains. It is in Waco.
It's in McLean.
Against one of the better quarterbacks in the entire Big 12 and Sawyer Robertson. That's one to watch because it's going to get uncomfy fast if that's a game that they lose. They're 1.5-point favorite right now or something like that. That'll be a fun game to watch early on. But we're going to hit the last, 5 we got coming up here. But first, a quick break and a message from our sponsors. Back here on the Hog Roundup, Tye Richardson and Jacob Morris continuing to move through the first half alphabetically of the SEC. Let's move to the Florida Gators, Tye. Win total 7.5, and I think you could say there are interesting storylines. You could go either way on a lot of different teams. Florida's one of them. Well documented as one of the toughest schedules in the entire country. LSU, Miami, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State, depending on what you think of them. A lot on there. I'm not breaking any news. This all comes down to DJ Lagway. They were 6-0 in games that he started and finished a year ago. This is a guy that, when he is playing as a true freshman, looked like one of the better quarterbacks in the entire country. If you are betting on Florida, you're betting on a healthy DJ Lagway. I'm going to go a narrow over at 8-4, and it scares the living daylights of me. Where do you fall on the Gators?
That's probably the toughest one to pick, just based on the schedule. Yeah. I think he has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in the SEC. I know that people talk about Arch Manning until they're blue in the face, but to me, what little I saw of this kid made me think he has potential. And I'm not the only one. You can talk to anyone that's watched them play. Sellers is the second. He's a kid that's like in my opinion, second best quarterback. Nussmeier's first. Even with Sellers, when that rushing component, I just think Nussmeier's probably got the biggest chance to win the Heisman Trophy because LSU's got the pedigree, and let's be honest, South Carolina doesn't. But yeah, I'll take Florida 8-4. I think they actually beat Georgia this year. Yeah. I feel like it's been a while since we've said that. Georgia's maybe let off the gas a few games, and then I feel like they clobber them in the fourth quarter in the second half. But yeah, I got Lagway beating the Georgia Bulldogs this year.
That's a prediction. We're about to get to Georgia there. You have 4 offensive linemen back for Florida as well. It's a defense that got kind of shelled in terms of gave a bunch of explosive plays a year ago. You shore that up, you help Lagway out a little bit, and we'll see. And again, it's the same thing with Arkansas, right? It's so easy to forecast these schedules as, man, it's a gauntlet, all the above. What happens if Tennessee loses Nico, and same thing for Arkansas. What if Tennessee's nobody? What if Florida State is bad again, right? And then it can go the other way. What if all those teams are as predicted, right? It's one thing to say the schedule is that difficult. It's another thing for it to actually play out. Let's talk the Georgia Bulldogs. Over under 9.5. You talked about them falling off a little bit. They looked human for the first time in a couple of years last year. They lose to Alabama in that crazy shootout sort of game. But I think what's more concerning if you're a Georgia fan is they had 2 losses in which they were completely out physical. That was Ole Miss, just took them to the shed in Oxford, and then Notre Dame in the college football playoff was the bigger team and was the more physical team. I was happy about that one. Where do you follow the Bulldogs? 9.5 over under.
I'll take under. Okay. I do think they get revenge against Alabama. But I'm just not a Gunnar Stockton believer. And I realize that the quarterback position is like it's the most important on the field. None of Georgia's relied on defense, the running game, and special teams over the years. But yeah, don't believe in him. I could be proven wrong. But yeah, that's where I stand on Georgia.
Can you walk
Yeah.
me through how they're going to get Alabama and then lose 3 more games?
Well, I think when you look, just hear me out on this. The
Okay.
revenge factor obviously is going to play a huge role in that game. Ryan Williams, who you referenced earlier, is like he gets under. It's crazy to think that the best wide receiver in the Southeastern Conference is almost undervalued because of Jeremiah Smith. But that's the situation that he finds himself in. Not to say that he can't have a big game in that, and I think he will typically because he's just shown out. But I just think like. This is I heard Neil McCready and something Siskey. They do that podcast talking about it's like 25 teams in college football have 11 or more starters back, and the rest of college football does not. So I think we're in a funky year. So Georgia's going to go down to Tennessee. I'm going to run back through so I don't get it wrong. Okay. I do think that Auburn picks off one of those games between Alabama and Georgia. So I'm going to say they lose at Auburn as well. And Texas is going to figure them out this year. So those are the 3. Sorry, Florida. Let me rephrase that. Florida, Tennessee. I'm going to say Auburn doesn't figure them out, and then Texas. Those are the 3 games. So I can't list them at 8-4. Yeah, I just had to look. I had to look back because I was like, I had a formula, I had a reason for this. Yeah. Double check on this.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go 11-1, and I'm going to go Texas is the only game they get got. And my reason for that is this: I'm not as out on Gunnar Stockton as you are. First and foremost, for me, this is a schedule thing. I'm not saying I don't really know if Georgia's going to come back to be the dominant, Georgia that we know. I don't know if really anybody is going to look like that moving forward with the transfer portal and all the above. I just love the way their schedule sets up in terms of Kirby got on the stage after the SEC championship game. You remember this? And like Sankey was like 6 feet away from him, and he made this big stink about like the SEC screw us over, all the above. That's not the case this year. They play 4 true road games, and they're all within like 30 minutes from campus. I like that. I think Gunnar Stockton's fine, and they also, they led the country in drops a year ago. Georgia led the country in drops a year ago. They bring in Zachariah Branch. They bring in Noah Thomas. He was A&M's leading receiver. I'm not saying they're going to be throwing the ball all over the yard, but Gunnar Stockton didn't do them any favors. I think they're a little bit better on the offensive line. I got them at 11-1, and that's not a dominant all the above. I think Texas gets them, and I think they go over the 9.5. If you want to bet Georgia over 9.5, it's at like -180 right now. That's why I was so surprised you went under, because it's approaching 10.5 fast.
Maybe I'm just hoping it more than I actually think it. And I'm just being honest about that. But again, I believe in DJ Lagway. I think Texas finally gets him.
Okay.
And then while they are going to beat Alabama, I think, and who was the other slip up I had? Not Auburn,
Tennessee,
but Tennessee. Yeah. In Knoxville. That's a big game for the Vols. I think that if I remember that right, it's like right before the Arkansas game. I think they have a bye, and then they'll play the Arkansas game, which you're hoping that Arkansas would be the only one on that bye, but Tennessee has it too. Even though that Tennessee had the bye before they came to Fayetteville last year, they still lost. So guess that doesn't matter either.
We'll see. They also remember that Georgia Tech game went to 8 overtimes last year. They are a trendy ACC pick for people. People love Brent
Haynes
Key.
Keene.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back.
About year 9. So
that was like the villain. That was you wanted Georgia Tech to win that game because they hadn't been in that game in years. And then they came so close so many times during that game.
8 overtimes. Kirby was calling a timeout between every overtime. They got that rule rectified this year that they're not going to give them in between the 2-point conversions or whatever it might be. But regardless, Georgia at 9.5. I'm going over. Ty's going under. We got 3 left. First, we're going to take a quick break and get one more message from our sponsors. And all right, back on the Hog Roundup, wrapping up shop time. We got 3 more teams to go here. If you have noticed, I don't know if you have, I've gone over every single time. I promise I mathematically worked this out. It is possible for this to happen.
I'm just shooting from the hip.
Yeah, the reason why I did that was because the top 4, like I said, I think separate. I think there is a mass in the middle that are all going to kind of cannibalize each other. And then 2 of the teams we're about to talk about, I think are going to be horrendous. The first of these is Kentucky. Over under 4.5. 4-8 in 2024. They had the weirdest season in the world where, if you remember, they almost nicked Georgia They lost by 1 in September. Then they go ahead
Mhm.
and essentially keep Ole Miss ultimately out of the playoff by beating them. Then they went ahead and went 1-7 in SEC play. Mark Stoops has all types of pressure on him. He brought in 47 new faces, 26 transfers. Remember Zach Calzada? He was
Mhm.
A&M's quarterback back in like 2010. He's playing a quarterback for A&M after spending last season or for Kentucky after spending last season at Incarnate Word. I'm going 3-9 for Kentucky. I don't think they win an SEC game, and I think they go well under 4.5. Where you at?
Remind me, their non-conference game is Louisville.
Yes. So they
So
play
that
Louisville to finish the season, who I think Louisville beats them, and then they play
yeah.
three nobodies.
Yeah, give me and I was going to pick them before, and I just had a brain fart there. Give me the Wildcats under. Stoops is not going to be the head coach there this year. You
Yeah.
mentioned Zach Calzada. Think about this: Zach Calzada was the quarterback for Texas A&M. Not like I know you were joking about 2010 in 2021.
Yep.
Monteric Brown picked him off after that tip from Bumper Pool, and Arkansas won against Texas A&M. The only time that they've been members in the Southeastern Conference in 21, thanks to Traylon Burks.
Yep.
And then also AJ Green and some other guys in that game. So that to me is just insane when you think about going that back. Haynes Keene was also at Texas A&M too. So there's a couple guys kind of back to back that you mentioned for the Aggies as well. So yeah, I'm not trusting a former Aggie quarterback. I'm going to have Kentucky in the under, and it is going to be interesting because there's reports out there they're spending 45%. From John Rothstein at their revenue distribution. So if you're a football coach and you hear and see that, why the heck would you want to go to Lexington where no one cares about football?
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, and you're just getting beat up in the SEC. This feels just exactly like last year for Kentucky. They brought in Brock Vandegrift last year. I mean, that's your
Georgia.
Zach Calzada camp, and Vandegrift did nothing. He's no longer playing college football. Last year, the stat that stands out to me is they did not score 21 points one time against a Power 4 program. And you're telling me like it's just magically going to no. So I don't got much else to say on Kentucky. That's tough. I'm going to go 3-9. I'm going to go well under 4.5. This one I'm going to be a lot more positive about. And given what you have said to me as well, I think you are too. The next is LSU, 8.5. 9-4 last year after 10 win seasons in good old Brian Kelly's first 2 years in Baton Rouge. Nuss returns, number 1 portal class in the entire country. 6 top 50 transfers. They believe this can be a year for them, and they are acting like it. Where do you fall on the Tigers?
I fall them being as good as any team in college football. I mean, LSU with the best quarterback in college football. All Kelly has to do is figure out that defense. I mean, that's been the Achilles heel since he got to campus. I know year one, Jay Daniels and company beat Alabama. Then the following year, he wins the Heisman Trophy. Then you have last season where Nussmeier's either throwing a touchdown or throwing a pick, and the defense isn't stopping anybody. So if you're Brian Kelly, if you figure that facet out, you're going to win the national championship. LSU has the best team in college football, but they don't have the best coach in college football. So I've got them going over this fall.
Yeah,
they're probably still not going to win in Tuscaloosa. Which is shit. And I know, it's funny is their 2 biggest marquee wins in the last 2 decades have come in Tuscaloosa. They won years ago with Joe Burrow. I guess that was the 2019 season in that epic 2-3 matchup. And then maybe the greatest college football game in the last 2 decades, 1v2 in Tuscaloosa, where they won 9-6 in overtime. So maybe they pull it out finally this year because they can't ever beat them in Baton Rouge, it seems like, when it comes to Alabama. That's their Achilles heel in Death Valley.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, obviously all eyes are going to be on that Alabama game. I got them at 10-2, and I feel comfortable about over 8.5. I mean, they open at Clemson, and that's going to be, in my opinion, the best game of week 1 when you talk about 2 teams that truly can win the national championship. Go ahead.
Think about this. They hadn't won an opener since
Kelly can't do it.
Right?
He can't do it. They keep scheduling these big games, and he can't get it done in week 1. That game's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be all the above. I think even if they lose that game, and I had them down when I went through their season as losing that game in Death Valley, high on Clemson, all the above. I just think this team is going to not roll through the rest of the SEC slate, but they are going to play very well and comfortably get over 8.5. You talked about the defense. That's where it starts and finishes with this team. They bring in Blake Baker as the defensive coordinator. over from Missouri last year, and they struggled last year, but even them struggling was so much better than what they had in 2023 when that Jaden Daniels
Mhm.
team couldn't stop anything, right?
Well,
Go ahead.
continue your thought. I'm sorry, Jacob. My bad.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of that's where it continues for them. They bring in all types of transfers. You remember Nick Anderson? I didn't even know he transferred there. He was the guy. He had a
Yep.
crazy season in Oklahoma in 23
Hmm.
with Dylan Gabriel. He was injured all last year. He's over in Baton Rouge as well. And then I think that defense is going to be better. 5 of 7 starters return on the front 7, and they add a bunch of transfer help as well. Harold Perkins is still there. They can never figure out how to use him.
Whit
Nightmare for
Weeks,
Hog
dog.
fans. Yeah, all the above. So I got them at 10 and 2. I think they're gonna be a team to reckon with.
Here's the thing: they might be playing the best quarterback in college football week 1. I
Yeah,
mean, Nussmeier Klubnik is
it's
there. Find me a better quarterback
games.
matchup in college football all year.
Yeah,
There might not be.
mm-hmm. And
I guess Sellers and Nussmeier going at each other
yeah.
later on the season would be good. But that is like, and then Brian Kelly, like I get it, he's at a booster event or a Rotary Club or whatever it was, but that stuff gets put out. So when he's talking about the real Death Valley, which we know is in Tiger Stadium, but you've just added fuel to the fire. Is that a Sunday night game or is that still Saturday?
Yep.
Okay, so you're adding fuel to the fire for a team in Clemson that, albeit is still one of the best teams in college football, wins the ACC championship last year, but hasn't got back to where they were with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and they need that marquee win to show, hey, we're not only just one of the best teams, we're back in national championship contention where we belong. So it would not surprise me at all if they were to lose that first game. Maybe that 10-2 line is more right. But this to me was the easiest of the picks you
very
sent
easy.
me. I think this is it's not even close when you look. And maybe they have the toughest non-conference game, being that they're in Clemson for this one. But to me, this is not even close of any of the over-unders that you sent over when it concerns SEC team. It's the easiest one to pick.
Yeah, it's juiced massively to the over, as you might expect. I think it's going to be a really solid team, and Kelly needs it to be a solid team, quite frankly, because they're upset in Baton Rouge after last season, and then after losing Bryce Underwood as well. But we wrap up. Man, it's hard to get excited about this one. Mississippi State over under 3.5. 2024 was year 1 for Jeff Lebby. I'm not sure it could have gone worse. They went 0-9 against Power 4 opponents. Toledo blew them out of the building. Good MAC program, the Rockets. UMass and Eastern Kentucky were the 2 wins. They brought in 60 new scholarship players. Michael Van Buren played a lot of the season. You probably remember him from the Arkansas game. He's a true freshman. He actually, he wasn't great, but he flashed. He had a couple moments. And then he went ahead and transferred to LSU to sit behind Nuss after the season. This is my favorite stat from the Pick 6 previews. Great publication there. They were 118th in scoring defense, last in the SEC, giving up 34 points per game. The gap between them and 15th in the SEC was larger than the one between 15th and 1st. This was a horrendous defense. It was a horrendous team.
Holy cow.
I've got him going under 3.5. I got him at 3 and 9. I think Arizona State clips him again in the non-con, and it's easy for me.
Easy to do like Kentucky. Jeff Lebby's in trouble. I don't know if they'll fire him after just 2 years, but it's so hard to win in Starkville. Lane Kiffin is just dominating that state right now. So I'll take Mississippi State under. And 100% agree with you.
Yeah, there's really not much else to say other than it makes you have a whole lot of respect for Dan Mullen for what he did in Starkville, because it's a tough place to win, and year 1 was tough, and Blake Shapen is back. I guess that's what you're staking your claim on if you are a Mississippi State fan. That needs to be a win for Arkansas big time. But that's going to put a cap on the first half of SEC win totals, over-unders between Tye and I. We'll be back next week to talk more about it, but that is going to do it for this week's Hog Roundup. For Tye Richardson, I am Jacob Morris saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week.